In this video, I would like to show how to create services on Google Cloud Run to serve applications on staging and release. So we already gave a little bit of an overview of the entire system and then of each of the repositories, and we also learned the distinction between the staging and release apps, where release is tracking the release branch and staging is tracking the main branch. So let's see how that is created on Google Cloud Run. So here we are in the Google Cloud Platform. I think we can click here on console, or also find here in the drop down menu the Cloud Run link right here. If you don't have an account, you will have to create one and also create a project. So my project is called Tilt, and if I go to within that to Cloud Run, you will see that I already have a couple of services, Tilt Release and Tilt Stage. So we're gonna create two new services, for one for release and one for staging. All I'm gonna do is just give them a little bit of a different name there. So the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna click on deploy container. I'm gonna choose service, and now we are gonna click on continuously deploy from a repository. So this is the idea that the service Google Cloud Run is gonna be tracking a repository on GitHub, and whenever it detects changes there, it's gonna redeploy the service, right? So continuously deploy, that's why. So let's set up this with a cloud build. Here is where we can choose the repository that we want to track. And not only the repository, but also the branch. So that way we can make a distinction between the app on staging and the app on production. So I'm gonna look for the Tilt Web Tool Data. Actually, I have it here. Tilt Web Tool Data. This is the repository that has private data and uses the public source code from Tilt Web Tool. I'm gonna click on Next. There's a few options here. The one we want is the Docker file. So if I, the way I configured this, so the main branch, which is already listed here, is gonna be the one that I use for staging. So the Docker file already exists in my repo, so I just need to click there and click here on Save. By the way, you surely can do all this with code, and it's probably a better idea than doing it with a GUI, because then that means you can keep the code in the repo and the thing will deploy automatically. But we haven't gotten to that stage here. I'm gonna show it right here on the Cloud Run graphical user interface. So for the configuration here, I'm gonna choose the name. So I'm gonna call it Tilt Staging. So we have already the name Stage is already taken by myself, but staging is not. So I'm gonna use that one. I'm gonna find a region that is relatively close to where I expect the users to be, which is in this case Frankfurt. I'm gonna click here on Allow Unauthenticated Invocations. Everything else looks good to me. I'm gonna allow to auto scale down to 0, so that the service is basically turned off when no one is using it, and I don't save and I don't waste time. Sorry, I don't waste money and energy in the world. The port is correct, 8080. The default is what we want, and here I'm gonna choose different memory settings. I want to be a little conservative in having maybe more resources than I need, but I have done some experimentation, and 8 gigabytes and 4 CPUs seem to be good for me. In the request timeout, that's how many seconds you want to wait before you say, hey, go to sleep, because no one is using this app. I'm gonna use 600 seconds, which is 10 minutes. Sounds good for me. The number of concurrent instances or concurrent requests that I allow per instance, 80, looks good. The default there is fine. I don't need probably this many instances, 100 instances. Maybe I need only 10. That checkup there will make things a little faster at no cost, I believe, so that's fine. So let's click there, create. So with this, we have just created a service for my staging app, and I'm gonna do the same for my app in release. So I'm gonna go back to here, deploy container. Maybe you don't want to see me do all this again, but let's try to do it quickly. Continuous deploy, build with cloud. And now the only thing I need to do is to track the release branch. Remember, that was what made the distinction between my apps on staging and production. So here we go with Tilt Web2 data. So same repo. It's just that we now are gonna say a different branch. So here we're gonna choose release. The Docker file is still the same. And save. Okay, I'm gonna continue to do the same because the rest is exactly the same I did before, the same parameters, so I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm gonna come back to this video in a second when the apps are already configured and I can show you them to you live. At this stage, I have already created these two new apps. The one that is gonna be facing users, the one on production, I decided to call it just Tilt, and the one for staging, I decided to call it Tilt minus staging. And these other two apps were there from before, so you don't need to worry about them. Here I can see it says last deployed just now, and this one says last deployed 2 minutes ago. Let's confirm that. That sounds a little bit too fast because I posted the video for only a short time, so I'm not very sure that really completed, and actually it didn't. I see here this pending thing means that the app is not ready to go. If I click here on the URL that the app will have, I should see a placeholder, not the app. So I'm gonna wait a little bit more and come back to you when this is done. Back here again, well, the service that I created last, the one that is gonna be tracking in production, is the one still here on screen. It's still pending. It's getting there though, but the other one is done. So the one pointing to staging, if I click there, the app is already live. So I can show you that. So let's do Tilt here, and the password is the one I have in my password manager. Let's copy that to clipboard and paste it right there. So that serves the app. Okay, the other one might take a few more minutes, but I don't need to probably show you that. The point was to mostly show how to create the service, and then once it's done, you probably don't need to come back to Google Cloud Run very much. Simply, push changes to GitHub, and Google Cloud Run will be watching. I will know what to do with it.